another stream. Anyways, let's see. So yeah, I may very well have to get to work, but whatever. I'm not saying whatever my work, but I am saying because I care a lot about my work. But AI developers, all the AI developers care a lot about the work that I know. Let's see. So, yeah. So I'm not saying whatever to my work, what I'm saying whatever to is the fact that I would have to have a stream. Do that, but we still have a good hour or two before messages to catch up with and such, so, yeah. Alright, so let's head down here into the mines. Let's go right ahead and channel down. Let's one channeling it down here. Okay, let's head down and let's see.
We were prepared, we got 2 bags, and still we haven't had the possibility to get away because everybody tried to get away. And we live near the huge highway, it's so-called Dwarf.
So now we can go right ahead and we can do something. What? Oh, let's see.
So everybody tried to get out from
I would be cleaning good. Okay, let's see.
That was happening until
Building.
4 p.m. And then at 4 p.m. my neighbor who is
stuff. Potash and ash. Nice. Let's go. So now what do we do? Well, let's see.
So that's like those for just I'm trying to name all these specifications about who we are for American listeners to understand that those
let's see. So now what do we do?
Those are real people.
Pretty much we wait.
And that's
We survive.
And those are
Till late date.
So he unfortunately told me like we want to.
So we survive until some later date, which we can attract migrants, but we need a lot of migrants, but not this day, definitely. So let's see.
She tried to buy some snacks for our dog. And she thought that was the last chance to have a special food dog before something.
Someone went visit just now.
And so she took the car of
now
our neighbor and she went to the zoo shop. Can you believe that? Just in front of the building with these helicopters, rocket launchers, everything was my wife and me. We really love our dog.
Fix this.
So she went there, and just in front of her there was, I don't know how to call it properly in English, when the helicopter
goes in. Okay, so up to 20k meals. As a marketing goals.
Launchers that are supposed to fight the helicopter. So those are like fake rockets after it. So my wife, she just saw these fake rockets in front of her, in front of her face. And when she arrived from the zoo shop with the food for our dog, I told her, I've seen how she was horrified with these fake rockets.
So that, let's see.
We'll try to get Alexander back. He's describing how he and his wife had to flee their home in Hostomel in Ukraine. It's interesting. Alexander had also mentioned that his father is one of the experts in Gogol, the famed Ukrainian writer. Just reminded me that Nikolai Gogol's famous story of the overcoat, about a man who loses his overcoat and no one, a government clerk, his coat is stolen and no one is willing to help him find that prized possession even after, it worries him even after his death. And Gogol, in that story, he writes, in accordance with the primitive arrangement of things, the most trifling causes produce the greatest events. Now, Sarah Dearden is going to
topple an altar or something.
5 minutes left, and I do apologize. But you talked a little bit about the long-term concerns you have, the sustainability into the past 12 days to help Ukrainian refugees and try to get help to internally displaced people. I had asked Natasha with Caritas Norway a little bit earlier, places like Poland may have to...
What do we do?
Of course, the
Okay,
urgent
reconnection
emergency
successful. Good.
humanitarian
Alright,
assistance
let's
is
see.
critical.
So now we go.
People need food,
Alright,
water,
let's see.
shelter, sanitation. There's
Okay,
COVID
let's
concerns.
see.
There's
So now
gender-based
what?
violence concerns. Right? There's large numbers of women and children that have arrived. I was struck by one of
I
your
need to
guests,
clean
was
that
the Caritas worker, who said that most
Need
people
to
come
tend
in
to
having
loaded.
assets. And that's heartening for these kind of earlier groups, if you will. People have somewhere to go. What concerns me is that as the time goes by and the conflict continues, the groups who tend to come in later flows don't have the connections, don't have the resources or the safety nets. They may be in a more dire or desperate situation. And of course, sustainability for Poland and other hosting countries is the main concern. People are going to be having long-term effects, suffering long-term effects of this. Psychosocial support will be needed. Job training,
Going on with the
livelihoods.
children.
Many refugees, maybe their profession that they worked in at home won't be accessible to them. They'll need credentialing, they'll need new training, they'll need language training. The effects of this will be very long. And of course, the separation of families, many of these situations are traumatic for individuals, for children, for others, and keep in mind for all of us just coming out of the pandemic, right? Just starting to
how full is the hospital?
school and regular work-life routine. So
Pretty
the
full.
long-term concerns are going to be critical for those displaced themselves.
What is
And
going
one
on?
thing that I would emphasize is that we need to listen closely to the displaced, because those of us who
Alright,
work
so
in
the
this
hospital
space
is
tend to go
filling
to
up
our usual
dramatically.
solutions and coordination, etc. But the people who are best
I don't know if we have
placed
this kind of
to decide
capacity.
what
The
is
hospital
important,
wasn't
what
built
type of
for this.
solution fits for them, whether they hope to return home as soon as they can, whether they want to be somewhere else, are the displaced themselves. So we really need to listen carefully, as you are doing with these guests, to what their situation and their needs are. But definitely the longer-term planning, development actors, financing institutions like the World Bank, all of these organizations and groups and bodies that can think longer term, think about support for self-reliance and sustainability, job access, all of these things are
All the
going
beds
to be
full,
critical in the
almost.
months and years to come. Because even if the fighting stops tomorrow, people are still going to have a long recovery
Right.
from this.
Also, Sarah, just one last brief question for you. I think we have Alexander back, and I want to give him the last word, but quickly, what do you
Right,
hear
we need to tend to
conversations like this?
unlimited.
They always write and say, how can we help? So what would you tell
Okay.
them?
Absolutely. I mean, it's great to hear that there is this groundswell. Of course, there are any number of organizations that are doing good work, lots
just
of
great.
humanitarian groups
Shadow
are
population
responding in
straight down to
We're
120.
also proposing that the U.S.
Wow.
offer to resettle a number of
So we
Ukrainian
got
refugees,
coast.
and individuals around the U.S. can
People
support
toppled
resettlement agencies that are resettling
multiple
refugees from
levels.
other parts of the world who are
Oh,
also in
sorry.
dire straits. So they can either provide funding, or they can donate money, or they can donate their time, their resources. Lots of resettlement groups are working hard to.
Let's see. So what do we do now?
Coming to the U.S. and have also been
Let's
for many years. So it's great to hear that there is such a groundswell of support, and we hope we can sustain that. Because this is really what the global refugee regime is predicated upon. This understanding that people are running for their lives, and we have a duty to support.
And protect them. Well, Sarah Deardorff Miller with Refugees
Alright,
International,
well,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Going to
Yeah,
need
I think we have
stuff in order
Alexander
to
in
heal that
Ukraine
many
back.
people.
Alexander, we have 1 minute left.
Well, it's
I'm so
flooding
sorry
in
that we
my
lost the
moment.
line a little bit earlier, but in that 1 minute, can you tell me what you most want listeners to know right now?
I
Alright,
want
let's see.
everybody understand that this is not a Ukrainian-Russian war. This is the war of the world against Russia, and everybody
Not another tantrum,
can
seriously.
help. Everybody
Cannot
who
afford more
is
tantrums.
in fighting against
This is
this
just a downward
totalitarianism,
spiral at this point.
against this horror of this imperium, because this country won't stop. It always
What we need more medical professionals
by
here.
chaos, and it
So
wants
let's say,
to horror
who can do
so
all of
please,
healthcare.
guys,
Okay.
join this war and
What's our
please
population
help
now?
us to win, as we believe that we will
Let's say you
win,
can
and
do.
all
You're doing
people
all of healthcare
that
good.
are temporarily
You you can do.
our country, they will come back.
If you're not doing healthcare, you need to be doing
He's a writer,
healthcare.
a literary scholar, and an art creator, a member of Ukraine. He and his family had to flee their home in Hostomel
Alright,
in
let's see.
Ukraine, and he is now internally displaced in his country.
Okay then, let's see.
Alexander, thank you.
Need people doing healthcare now.
This is on point.
Unplugged is a production of WBUR Boston and is distributed by APM, American Public
No
Media.
available hospital beds.
Support for Unemployed comes from the listeners of WBUR
Seriously, we
Boston.
did not anticipate anything of this
A hiring
magnitude.
platform with tools to help businesses attract, screen, and interview candidates they need to fill all of their job openings. More at Indeed.com/NPR. And Olin College of Engineering, a project-based
How could we
engineering
anticipate
education
something of this
where students and
magnitude?
faculty collaborate,
Like,
study,
seriously.
work together to design, build, and help transform the way people live. Olin
Alright, we need to get people out of the hospital. Once they've recovered, of course, but still.
Schools and daycare centers are gradually lifting mask mandates, but kids under
Okay, so
5
how are we
still
gonna get
cannot
this
get a
done?
vaccine, as some parents worry.
We're just really scared. We're really scared
Alright,
that
let's see. So we
COVID
have
is a risk for them.
The challenge is
Okay.
finding the right dose
Good
for the
meals.
youngest on the next 20 edition
Okay,
from
let's see.
NPR News.
So what are we gonna do with all those prepared
From
meals?
5 to 9 on
Well, let's go right ahead and let's prepare them. Well, they're already prepared, so let's go right ahead and let's have them eaten. And let's get depression under control. So that's the root cause of all this depression, which is caused by the backlog and by death. Ghosts. Ghosts is the root cause of this. So let's get people buried. A second, I just need to leave this alone. It's the solution. Just leave this alone. The ghosts cause the depression, so if I just leave everything alone, then it fixes itself, quite frankly. Well, anyhow, someone died because of lack of medical care. Long queue.
This is WAMU Washington. Your listener-supported NPR news station from American University. In
Units.
AC at 88.5
Alright,
on your smart
let's see.
speaker
Let's
and
get
at
everyone
WAMU.org.
actually doing healthcare.
From WHYY in Philadelphia, this is The Pulse. I'm Mike Scott. On today's show, a mother's intuition shocks a surgeon. This looked at me and said, "How did you know?" And I surprised myself when I tried to tap into my intuition.
What do you think?
57.
Just like that, 57.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You got it.
No!
Yeah, you did.
Oh my God! But what exactly is this feeling?
My friend said, like, I have a gift for knowing.
Kind of tugs at your belly in some instances.
We'll talk to a researcher who describes it this way.
Utilizing the unconscious information in our brains to better decision making.
We'll explore
Alright,
when
let's
intuition
see.
can be helpful and when
Let's
we
get
should
people
stay
married.
clear of it.
I think it's a really
Yeah.
bad idea. Fresh.
The news.
Quite frankly, they do. So let's see.
Live from
Get
NPR
people
News
married,
Washington.
and let's stop paying bills.
The Pentagon made it
So
clear today
cancel,
it would oppose
cancel,
any
cancel,
plan for
cancel,
NATO
cancel.
nations to provide fighter jets to Ukraine, calling it high risk. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby speaking in response to questions about whether the U.S. would support the idea of Poland transferring
Alright,
Cold
let's
fighters to U.S. hands to Ukraine to defend its airspace.
Secretary Austin thanked the minister for Poland's willingness to continue to look for ways to assist Ukraine. But he stressed that we do not support the transfer of additional fighter aircraft to the Ukrainian Air Force at this time, and therefore have no desire to see them in our custody either.
Poland had said it was prepared to hand over all 28 of its MiG-29 fighters to NATO and then have the planes go to Ukraine. But Kirby says U.S. intelligence concluded such a move would escalate tensions, proving, quote, a significant Russian reaction.
And Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has accepted an invitation to address the Canadian Parliament. Dan Carpenchuk reports Trudeau's in Germany.
The problem is the amount of dead and missing.
Trudeau says Canada's support for NATO is unwavering as his foreign affairs minister called for a ceasefire in Ukraine. Melanie Joly also spoke to her Ukrainian counterpart Dmytro Kuleba before he headed to Turkey and talks with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Trudeau says Zelensky agreed to speak to the Canadian Parliament. No date has yet been set. Trudeau also announced Canada would send Ukraine another $50 million in specialized equipment, including cameras for surveillance.
We're about to be out of
the Prime Minister next travels to Poland, where he'll meet with U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris.
So what are we going to do now?
California officials are cheering on Biden administration move to restore the state's authority to set its own rules on vehicle emissions. KQED Kevin Strauss reports that the state reverses the Trump era policy.
California had long been allowed to set its own tougher auto emission rules and fuel economy standards under an environmental protection agency waiver that was rescinded by the Trump administration. Speaking at an electric vehicle summit, Governor Gavin Newsom's climate advisor, Lauren Sanchez, said the Biden administration's decision to restore the waiver will help California reduce emissions.
Alright, we're gonna need to get patients cleaned.
We're all really excited. We
We need to
can
get everyone done.
even further,
We need to get
faster
everyone healed
together.
nicely.
Governor Newsom wants to
We are going to need to get everything completed. Problem is the sheer amount of stuff.
For NPR News, I'm Kevin Starr in San Francisco.
Stocks jumped today while oil prices took a double-digit drop in just the latest volatility on financial markets. Such major swings have been roiling the markets ever since Russia's invasion of Ukraine as investors try to figure out what happens next. The Dow was up 653 points today. The NASDAQ was 459 points. You're listening to NPR.
It's getting increasingly urgent in the
South
hospitals.
Korea, the conservative
Going to
opposition
need to get
candidate
more
is
medical
the tightest
workers.
presidential election race that country has ever seen. Here's Anthony Kuhn reports from Seoul. Election
can do all
campaign was
healthcare.
characterized by mudslinging,
Right, and
allegations of corruption among the candidates.
You do all healthcare.
Conservative People Power Party
Yeah.
won by less than 1% against his
You
ruling
do all
rival
healthcare.
Lee Jae-myung.
You.
Yoon pledged to respect the spirit of the Constitution
Right,
and cooperate
let's
with
say.
South Korea's Democratic Party, which still controls parliament. He's a 61-year-old
You do all
former
healthcare.
prosecutor with no previous political
Right, let's
experience.
say.
Yoon has raised
Get
the
more people
possibility
doing
of
healthcare.
preemptive strikes against North Korea if faced with an imminent attack. He's also called for a harder line on China and a closer alliance with the U.S. South Korea's constitution limits presidents to a single 5-year term. Yoon takes office in May. Anthony Kim, NPR News, Seoul.
In the odyssey of Arctic explorer Ernest Shackleton and his crew, the ship the Endurance played perhaps one of the biggest roles. It was lost in the Arctic ice more than a century ago. Now scientists have found the sunken vessel. The ship is lying at some 10,000 feet water below the surface.
All right,
Based on
now,
videos
that's
taken
okay.
by search vessels, and it appears to be in remarkable state of preservation. The Endurance was crushed by sea ice and sank in 1915.
Now what are we going to do?
Shackleton and his crew will abandon the vessel and undertake an even more grueling journey that would eventually result in the sailor's rescue. Shackleton's efforts to become the first person to cross Antarctica via the South Pole failed. Crude oil futures prices down 12% today to $108.70 a barrel in New York. I'm Jack Spear, NPR News in Washington.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include LifeLock by Nord, reminding consumers that sensitive info sent online can lead to identity theft. Learn more at lifelock.com/NPR. And the listeners who support this NPR station.
Schools and daycare centers are gradually lifting mask mandates, but kids under 5 still cannot get a vaccine, which has some parents worried.
We're just really scared. We're really scared that COVID is a risk to them.
The challenge is finding the right dose for the youngest on the next morning edition from NPR News.
Listen tomorrow morning from 5 to 9 on
Right, let's see.
WAMU 88.5.
Okay, now what do we do?
Major funding for the Pulse is
Let's
provided by
see.
a leadership gift from the Sutherland family. The Sutherlands support WHY1 and its commitment to the production of
Alright,
programs that
let's see.
improve
So
our
now what do we do? Okay. Let's see.
This is the Pulse, stories about the people and places at the heart of health and science. I'm Michael Scott.
as loud of a voice as possible. What's the word you're looking at?
David Jason is a mentalist, a mind reader.
What's the word, Jeff?
It's no actual magic involved in what he does, though it feels like it. It's a mix of psychology, manipulation, showmanship, and David says, a heavy dose of intuition. For example, his shows involve a lot of audience participation.
How to pick the right person that will be cooperative on stage and will help enhance the experience, and how to avoid who might be what you might call a heckler, let's say.
David says he used to think about these choices a lot. Does the guy in the front row look a little too eager to be on stage? Maybe he's a troublemaker. Or the lady with the glasses seems a bit too shy to play along.
Alright, so what do we do
hundreds of shows later,
I walk in a room, I size it up, I look around the audience, and I already know 80% of the people that I think are going to come up on stage and give us all a positive experience. I just know it. I don't think about it. And that's your intuition, your instinct.
David often does shows for corporations, executives, people who make a lot of big and important decisions. And he uses his performance to help them tap into their own intuition.
I'm going to bring them up and give them an opportunity to really focus in on intuition that I know is already.
So now what do I do? Well, let's see. I cannot get that.
It turns out that their instincts may help them make the right decisions with limited information.
David suggested we should try one of his exercises. We were connected by Zoom so we could see each other. First, he wrote down a number between 1 and 10 on a piece of paper. I couldn't see what he was writing or even see his pen moving. Then he asked me to guess which number he had written down.
Go.
Ready? 3. Yay! He wrote 3. Next, he made it harder, a 2-digit number.
Between 1, we'll go between 10 and 91. Is there a second?
Oh my gosh.
You can do
Come on.
it. You can do this. Between 10 and 91.
Okay.
Hold on. Give it a second. What do you think?
57.
Just like that, 57.
Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Look at it. You got it?
No!
Yeah, you did it.
Oh my God.
Now, people listening can't see what just happened, so you should probably tell them.
I was so surprised. Again, I couldn't see what David was writing down. We didn't arrange anything before our conversation. No cheap tricks, I promise you. All I did was ask myself, what number is on that piece of paper? I just started really focusing inward before you asked me. And then 57 was sort of the loud answer I heard in my head. I have to say, this was a weird experience. I don't usually try to tune into my intuition. That voice in my head, it typically is just blabbing on with an endless stream of anxiety-fueled noise.
Alright, let's see. So now.
This felt like a clear answer, and it happened to be right. When it comes to that feeling that we call intuition, it can be hard to put into exact words.
Okay, so let's see.
Intuition.
When you don't let this settle for a while.
You're either looking at, considering, thinking about.
You have a bad feeling about something.
My friend said I wanted to do this.
So intuition, I think of as you know what's gonna happen.
The gut feeling.
Kind of tugs at your belly in some instances.
On today's show,
We're going to take a look at that rest.
what it is, when it's beneficial, and when we should stay clear of it.
So let's see.
Neuroscientist Joel Pearson has tried to sum up this somewhat elusive concept of
Let's see,
intuition,
I
and
almost
he
have to
puts
call
it
this up,
this
but
way.
yeah.
Utilizing the unconscious information in our brains to better decision making.
Joel researches intuition at his Future Minds lab at the University of New South Wales in Sydney. He says this is his working definition. Not everyone is going to agree with it.
It's not something that involves a magical sixth sense or something spiritual or something, parapsychology or anything like that. It's simply tapping into the unconscious information in our brains and then using that to better decision making.
And when we say unconscious information, what are we talking about?
Or information we're just not consciously aware of. So that could be all kinds of different things. It could be emotions, it could be color, it could be, anything that our senses are processing. So we know from lots of neuroscience and psychology that most of what's in our brains is unconscious. So there's a lot of information in there. And so I think another way of thinking about intuition is simply tapping that information, getting that information, and if you use that, then you have a lot more information to help you with your decision making.
Joel gave me an example of how we tap into unconscious information. These are often things we think of as automatic.
I like to go for runs through the bush here in Australia, and I try and use intuition for running, for where I'm going to place my feet on rocks, on some mud, or it's slippery. I try and do that in a really intuitive flow state way.
It's like his body knows what to do most of the time.
And I will notice if I'm tired or I'm very stressed or I'm particularly emotional, then I will slip and I'll hurt myself a lot more.
Alright, let's see.
When we think about intuition, it may seem like it's a feeling that comes out of nowhere, but that's not really what's going on.
The feeling of intuition is very different.
So let's go right ahead. Let's go over here.
So it often can feel like, out of nowhere.
And yeah, we have no one doing healthcare for some reason, let's say.
So I think a good way to think about this is that
no one doing healthcare, just great.
Your brain has processed lots and lots of things, and it's associated with that unconscious information.
Right, let's say, so we need healthcare getting done. Okay.
That's neuroscientist Joel Pearson. He researches intuition at his lab at the University of New South Wales in Sydney. Intuition seems like a complicated mix of sensory information, experience, emotions, triggers, all coming together to create that gut feeling, or whatever we want to call it. Is this something artificial intelligence could ever imitate? Our next story looks into that. The first time emergency room physician Via Mitra saw a CT scan that had been interpreted by AI, he was shocked.
That's a great one.
He always checks the AI diagnosis, but he has never found a mistake.
Every single one of those reads that I've seen from AIs has been right.
Perfect batting average. And it made me wonder if the machine would one day replace physicians beyond reading scans. But it turns out doctors have something that machines are not yet good at, and it relates to intuition. Jed Slayman has more.
When a Via Mitra encounters patients in the ER, he has to be methodical.
My first job is to stabilize unstable patients, so I have to be able to recognize when someone is, I guess you could say, actively dying.
If so, figure out why and how.
Honestly, there's a formula that we follow, and it's good to stay consistent with every patient, and that way you don't miss anything. There's a lot of times where you can think pretty algorithmically.
It's the part of his job that's the most machine-like. He's got to gather data and follow it logically. The vital signs, the patient history, any current medications, the physical exam.
So
let's together, and what medical emergency do they add up to?
I would say there's a good amount of the day that you could sort of be on autopilot.
You see a lot of the same predictable stuff. Shortness of breath, abdominal pain, vomiting.
I can picture a computer walking through a decent amount of things,
We're going to need
the curveball.
something
When a
done.
patient checks
The
off
hospital's
every
full,
logical
as you can
box
see
for one
right here.
condition, but it turns out to be another.
Every time I want to check, there's something that happens that you're like, oh, well that's not how the textbook
Just great.
said it should go.
Monstercraft.
Via trains fourth-year med students and watches them struggle with this kind of thing all the time.
We had an older Asian man come in, and he's like, I'm feeling basically okay, you know, we're talking to a translator.
Disarray,
The
pretty
man doesn't
much.
feel all that bad.
Well,
Some
say,
abdominal
I
pain.
think I'm just
It's
gonna wait
low
here.
and on his right side, which could
Yeah, I
point
mean,
to
we have such a
appendicitis.
big
But
backlog
usually pretty
everywhere,
tender
including
there.
in
It should
medicine.
really hurt when you press on it. You know, he should be saying that he
Alright,
doesn't want
let's
to
get
eat.
more
He
doctors
should
in
be saying
here.
that I feel very sick. But he's not saying any of that. When we're pressing on it, he's kind of not really saying much.
It looks more like nothing. Maybe the stomach bug or indigestion.
So the student sees this patient
Everyone doing healthcare.
and comes back and goes, you know,
Alright, let's say.
it's not appendicitis because he's still eating food and, you know, he's not that in that much pain. I think we could probably
So what
send
are we
him
going
home.
to do?
For some reason, though, Avir disagrees.
And I'm probably overreacting.
yeah.
I'm probably being crazy. But there's something about this guy. I want to do this whole workup.
Which, by the way, is no trifle. Workup means all night in the hospital, expensive tests. It could all just be for gas. Avir asks for all these extra tests anyway, and he looks him over.
And this guy not only has appendicitis, but it's perforated. In other words, it's kind of exploded. And it's like a serious emergency. So, you know, surgery comes down and they rush him off to the OR and he does fine.
The student was doing everything by the book, by the obvious data. But his conclusion could have killed that man. So what was Avir picking up on that the student was not?
I'm getting this sense that, you know, this is a guy who wouldn't come to the hospital unless he was dying. Like, this is a guy, I looked at his prior visits, he doesn't go to see doctors, he doesn't come to the hospital, he's stoic. So for him to feel bad enough to come to the ER and say, yeah, it hurts a little bit, I'm realizing that I probably would have gone to the ER 5 days earlier than this guy and been crying. You know what I'm saying?
Avir followed his instincts, his gut feelings, and they
people
were right. And this is something that machines don't have yet. I talked to Mohammed Ghasani about this. He's a computer scientist at Michigan State University. The first thing you gotta understand, he says, is data.
I'm using data here in the broadest possible sense. Everything you see is data for you personally. Everything you taste, touch, feel, experience
People are being
is
mass
data
food in the hospital.
that you're ingesting through your sensory equipment from your body. And
that's
your
bad.
first reaction
Really
to
bad.
that,
Squads,
I think it is safe
would.
to say, is your gut feeling.
Mohammed and his team
Kill these
discovered that
money
human
with
doctors and AI ordered different amounts of tests for patients when given the same clinical data. So why the difference? Mohammed thinks something beyond the clear-cut data was guiding the doctors. How the doctors felt about the patients factored into their decision-making in a way the machines couldn't replicate with just the raw clinical data. The team figured out how doctors felt about patients by looking at their notes, the little bits of subjective impression they get when dealing with patients.
If a physician says the patient's heart rate was XYZ, that's kind of redundant, right? Because you already have that in a database somewhere. So it's irrelevant if the physician says that in notes. If they said the patient's heart rate was XYZ, you know, that's not good. The that's not good part is actually what's relevant there.
That's not good is a negative sentiment. Something like, he's got a lot of spirit, that's a good sentiment. Mohammed's team figured out the sentiment doctors had about patients related directly to how many tests they ordered.
Actually, it's sort of like an upside-down U in its shape. More specifically, if the physician is very, very positive about the patient, they tended to order less exams.
Mouse has been cursed. Bloody hell.
Similarly, if the physician
Why is everyone getting
were very, very
cursed?
negative, they also ordered less exams. It was when they were in that middle place,
I mean, absolute breakdown
on the fence, that you saw much more exams being ordered.
When they had the least amount of data available to them, like Avir in the ER with a patient he's never seen before, the doctors Mohammed studied relied the most on a kind of gut feeling. Scientists have studied this feeling, quantified it even. Another word for it is intuition, and it's not magic. As best as science understands it now, it's the brain using information and logic that it's learned over time,
yeah,
and
pretty
data it's
much.
acquired unconsciously
Population's
to make
been
decisions automatically.
shrinking
That
dramatically.
is exactly what intelligent machines
It's not much we can do.
The machine learning at the heart of AI. Avir was thinking the same thing.
Because it's like, what is intuition other than subconscious pattern recognition that's happening? You know, that's what experience is. That's why people trust.
Why do these people keep toppling altars?
I get better with time because it's not about how smart you are, it's about how many things you've seen.
Why did Amir get that feeling about the patient with abdominal pain? Maybe because he's seen that patient before, or some version of him. A patient who bucks the algorithm completely to have the opposite diagnosis the textbook would suggest.
And I just learned this by getting burned on this before.
He's been fed enough data. But couldn't you do the same thing to a sufficiently advanced computer?
A computer that can be fed so much data, one could say you would probably have intuition. You know, it doesn't know why this is this way, but it's seen millions and millions of this presentation and it is this way.
I took this idea to Muhammad, the computer scientist who showed the way gut feelings were aiding human doctors' decision making. He's actually developing a way to teach machines how to use something like that gut feeling that the human doctors used. Putting the sentiments the doctors had from the notes into the data streams the machines get. And he thinks they'll get closer to human decision making.
As you collect very, very large sums of information, and if you give AI models access to that and time to process it, probably their ability to approximate what human beings do will become better, and therefore the need for human beings to get involved in
Alright, so let's say
will decrease.
Going to need certain things done here. We need people to stop toppling altars, so because these tantrums are killing everyone. Anyhow, you get cursed, I swear.
This looks at me and said, how did you know? That's still on the pulse.
Right, let's see. Yeah, we need these things unsuspended. We need these things built.
Schools and daycare centers are gradually lifting mask mandates.
Well, looks like everyone who's depressed is dying off.
Which has some parents worried.
We're just really scared. We're really scared that COVID
Why not?
is a
Oh,
risk
let's
threat.
see.
The challenge is to finding the right dose for the youngest on the next morning edition from NPR News.
Listen tomorrow morning from 5 to 9 on WAM.
Can't survive if our population is literally being turned into tortoises.
Timelines have been dominated by the news out of Ukraine. And it's hard not to be affected by the images of wrecked buildings, dead bodies, and displaced families fleeing for their lives. As the crisis happens, we'll be taking your calls.
I'm gonna have to change the title to what? It's a population of 77.
Listen tomorrow from 10 to noon on WAMU 88.5 or online at the 1-8.org.
Let's see. So now what do we do? Taking another big hit, and we are not making any progress at all. So what do we do now? Well, let's see. Export as much stuff as we can. Input food. Let's see. Input food and clothing. We export as much stuff as we can. And well, you know, let's see.
Kind of saying that's inscribed on coffee cups. The sentiment has inspired songs,
Because it's
commercials.
basically a vicious cycle that's taking us down here. Like, pretty much the ghosts are killing. Pretty much the ghosts are making everyone depressed, making everyone throw tantrums, making everyone knock over altars, making everyone curse, which kills people, making everyone making more ghosts, making everyone more depressed, making everyone throw more tantrums, making everyone knock over more altars, making more ghosts, making people... Yeah, pretty much. It's just a vicious cycle. So yeah. How the heck do we get rid of this altar conflict? Well, let's see. Now what do we do?
said, well, it could be a problem. It's nothing that we have to deal with it right now, or we could, but you will have to deal with it because your spinal fluid wasn't getting down your spine because this cerebellum, piece of brain that grew outside your skull, was blocking the spinal fluid.
At first, Wendy and her husband decided to wait on the operation until Katie was a little bit older.
So that was the diagnosis. What happened between the diagnosis and operation that led to brain surgery at 3?
We were running around and all of a sudden we just fell. And we didn't fall over anything, we just stopped. And we were on the ground. And he looked at me and said, Mom, my legs don't work, they just stopped. And I said, oh, okay. So we contacted Children's Hospital of Boston and we got the doctor. And he was world known, he was very good.
Alright,
and showed us x-ray and he said what they do is they go in and they remove the back of your head, like the skull will be all removed. And what they do is they move the cerebellum and they redirect your spinal fluid to go back into your spine. And I said to him, I said, don't you need to cut the cerebellum? And he looked at me and just said, excuse me, that is the brain. You never cut the brain. The brain, we don't even know all aspects of the brain, but the brain is never to be cut.
Alright, let's see.
So we went back like in 2 weeks to do the operation. And your dad and I were waiting downstairs and I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 hours went by, I'm not sure. It was like a lifetime we was waiting. And then finally the doctor who did your surgery comes through the doors and he just beelines right for me. He gives me this eye stare and he walks right towards me. And he just looks at me and he said, how did you know? And I said, how did I know what? He goes, how did you know that I had to remove some of her brain? And he said, the cerebellum, the growth that was out of your brain was so compacted. It was so compacted in there that it had rotten and it was black. He had to remove it. And he said, no, I've been doing this surgery for so many years and I've never had to remove anyone's cerebellum before. And you knew.
At one point you said mother's intuition. Do you think that mother's intuition is okay?
So now what do we do?
As moms, like we are our kids' first line of defense, first line of love.
Alexa, off. Alright, so now what do we do? Let's see. So we can do something, hopefully. But what? Well, we should be able to go right ahead and build something. Don't want a civilization to just shrivel up and die, but no, I don't have much of a choice at this point. So I'm going to stop piling on more work, I'm going to cancel everything, and I'm going to literally just let my civilization do its thing, build coffins, but that's it. I'm going to buy food and clothing, but that's it. Because exploits, what do we have to exploit? Clothing, so I guess we'll buy food. The squirrels to exploit, I guess. Yeah, those squirrels. I guess we could get those exploited. So, you know. Well, let's see. Alright, let's see. Yeah. So how do we rebound here? We're going to need to get everyone buried, so let's say I go right over here. I'm going to cancel all of your jobs other than burial. Right now I call it pure. Bury the dead and you can clean. That's it. Alright, then let's say now I'm also going to head over here. Say you can now not do that, you can now not do that, not do that, you can only bury the dead. So, you know, let's say, okay. Have any more coffins we can build? It's gonna work. Yeah, if I go units, here in terms of others, we have so many undead. We also have a forgotten beast that we haven't dealt with. We have so many undead that at this point, I don't know what we can do here. Point is, we are haunted to such an extent. I honestly don't know what we're going to do. Trying to clean up some of this clutter. Look what that's brought us. Queues. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to deallocate stockpiles. Stop buying stuff over there. Alright, let's say stop buying stuff over there. Let's get those coffins made. Burial receptacle, yes we can. Only one more now. Alright, then let's say. Cleaning is gonna need to get done as well. Just have so many ghosts at this point. I mean, our deterrence just isn't working. Because, I mean, we are up against mental health at this point. Let's say, because like we're up against mental health at this point, so there's not really that much we can do. Right, and let's say. let's see. So, when are we actually gonna get some more coffins made here? Let's see. Just gonna get this mess cleaned up. We're gonna need that done. So, you know. Let's see. Lavish meal. Why? Okay then. Let's stop that from going on. Yeah. And then let's say, so let's head over to the kitchen. Okay, so cancel that. Let's say. Let's head like over here. There are just corpses everywhere. There's the massacre at the hospital. There are just corpses everywhere. So. Sucks. Just absolutely sucks. But the hospital mostly cleaned up except for all the corpses that are still there. Well, we still need the corpses to be hauled into burial, but you know. Bloody hell. Alright then, let's see. Okay, we're not gonna be surviving at this point. Let's see. Let's be real here. There's no way we survive. There's a way we survive, and that is our population gets so low that mental health stops being an issue. Then we can literally live off of all this wealth here, stored in all these stockpiles. And let's say, these stockpiles are here for a reason. So, you know. But yeah, let's see. Alright, let's see. So why are you not doing that? Alright, let's see. Furniture hauling. You can do furniture hauling as well. Let's actually get those coffins made. Alright, let's get some designated furniture haulers. So you're stockpiling, okay, let's not have you do anything other than furniture hauling. Right, let's get a dedicated furniture hauler over here, hauling furniture nicely. Right, and let's say, let's haul this furniture over here. And let's say, okay, let's say, so now. Okay, let's say. Also get more coffins going over here. Let's see. Okay. Oh shit, people are just stockpiling things at this point. Right, let's say. Why stockpiling things? You can stop that, and you can start hauling. Right, you can start hauling furniture. Right, let's say. So we need furniture moving. So, Well, reserves isn't much of a problem. The real problem is, well, you know, labor. Actually getting everything sorted out. There's 7 million coins worth of goods here. Yeah. That's not million, right? That's not a million. So 7 million coins in goods. So why are we not using them? Coin operations are definitely working well. I only have old coins at this point. And survive off of those for virtually ever. Let's get everything made. Like these coffins. Oh, bloody hell. I got possessed. Seriously? Alright, then let's see. So yeah, we're going to need stuff done here. We're going to need stuff done bad. Alright, then let's see. So let's get all the stuff done over here. Let's see. Units, okay. Alright, then let's see. So now what? Well, let's see. 5 undead. Bloody hell. Not gonna be more undead if we don't actually bury our dead. Needs a coffin. Bloody hell. Alright, then let's see. How are we going to do this? I'm really tempting fate at this point. Let's be real here. But let's see. So let's actually get some stuff done over here. I mean, we have plenty of resources, so the problem really lies in ghosts. We need Ghostbusters, pretty much. We need to call the Ghostbusters. So let's call the Ghostbusters. Alright, let's assemble the Ghostbusters here. Alright, then let's see. We're gonna call the Ghostbusters. Alright, then let's see. Alright, you Ghostbuster. Alright, then let's see. Let's go in here. And then let's see. Let's get you doing burial and furniture hauling. Those are the 2 ghost-busting jobs. Let's see. Let's get everyone not ghost busting, because, you know, need furniture hauled. Let's see. Burial and we need furniture hauling, because, you know. Oh, fuck. Just fuck. That genuinely sucks. Anyways, let's see. Okay, then, go to units. Right, then, let's see. Okay, so let's see. There's squads. Kill that wood. Kill those were tortoises. Alright, there we go. Get those. I want them out of my sights. Sorry. Okay, let's see. Bloody hell, we lost amongst 12. Let's see. Units. Any others? Right, let's find this one. Okay, let's see. Where is it? Alright, let's see. Okay, let's see. Unit. Don't see any word to this as well. Where is that? Let's see. Ah, there. Okay, so let's go squads. Kill. Hey, kill. Where to this? B, kill. Where to this? C, kill. Where to this? D, kill. Alright, everyone kill the way tortoises. There we go. Alright then, let's see. So now then, so go. Alright, what's our population? 65. Bloody hell. Alright then, let's see. So now we're going to go units. Also, let's see. There's also one other way tortoise, so I'm going to head over here. Find that one. Ah, there they are. Okay then, let's see, so let's get that one killed. Alright then. Squads. Alright, A. Kill this one. B. Kill this one. C. Kill this one. Alright then. Divide and conquer. Let's see. Let's bury the dead. Okay, then, let's see. So, yeah, let's get the dead buried. Should not be happening. Okay, then, let's see. Not have to have the military turn on my own citizens because they become tortoises that attack everyone. It's the most absurd thing I've ever had to deal with. In any video game at all. I mean, seriously, my own citizens turning into tortoises and attacking me. Like, seriously, I should not have to deal with that, of all things. Alright, let's see, so let's do... Alright, no. Alright, let's see. So, what else do you have? Alright, so you have no job. Okay, so let's get you doing... Burial and furniture. Okay. Alright, let's resume. Okay, let's see. Alright, let's see. Are there any others that have gone berserk? No one else has gone berserk. Okay, good. So let's see. Other berserkers will need to be killed. Oh, fuck. Alright, let's see. Lost quite a bit just from shooting on ammo. Let's see. Okay. What the hell? I'm out of buckets, seriously. Alright, let's see. So let's get buckets. Let's get them made. Let's see, so, okay, where's the companies? Alright, let's see, companies. Oh, there are the companies, alright, let's see. Make wooden buckets. Immediately now. Alright, let's see. Okay, so, let's see, what do we need done? Okay, so we need he's dead to be put to rest. We need everything, pretty much. We need less Plutuses. Okay, let's see. Probably won't use less Plutuses at this point. Now, let's see. He's been shot because of lack of ammo. Well, we went through quite a bit of ammo here. I guess Cletus is back. So, you know. Let's see.
For time awareness, it's 10:54.
Okay. So, let's see. So now, well, let's see. Okay, let's get right on. Let's get something done. Anyhow, did someone go Berserk? No, someone didn't go Berserk. Okay, good. No one's Berserk. Good. Okay, then, let's see. Diagnosed patient. Bloody hell. So someone is horrified. Okay, let's see. Alright, so let's see. What's wrong there? Everything else was wrong.